Day or night, it's Tessa Night, and welcome back to this week's Vivzipop Variety Fact Pack, brought to you by the Lightweights Podcast, whose multiple ads at the beginning had me worried that half this run time was going to be ads. It wasn't. Quick housekeeping things before we get started. I'll be covering all of the Hellverse information from this interview as they cover and bounce between Has-Been Hotel and Helva Boss pretty often, and just makes it easier to do them both at once for this, rather than trying to split them into each of their individual videos. Another thing I'd said start doing is instead of referring to things that are in the Hellverse as Viv style, I'm going to start referring to it as the Spindlehorse style. Did Viv make the initial plot and character designs? Yes. However, more of her team is involved in the process, and boiling everything down to one person feels A, like blaming Viv for all of its problems when it's a team problem, and B, undermining the work of the rest of the team. So in future videos, I will be referring to the style as Spindlehorse's style. Finally, there wasn't a lot of character-specific stuff or huge world-building stuff in the stream, but there was some fun production stuff in this. So, this fact pack contained more of that. If you're after the usual character-specific stuff, I'm sorry, but other than a few bits about Stella and the Goetia, there's not a lot of that in this review. The stream and my fact sheet will be in the description below. If there is a stream, panel, or tweet I haven't covered, comment it down below or message me on my Twitter, which will also be linked, and I will shout you out in the next video. On to the stream. Ideas from the show come from things Viv likes or what experiences she has. Depending on the idea, she either knows instantly which show it will fit, and other times, she writes it down and sees where it will fit later. Generally, bigger overarching story things goes towards Has-Been Hotel, while more nuanced and character stuff goes more towards Helva Boss. She knows what she wants for both shows, and to an extent, they are planned out, especially for the big story beats. It's also noted that episodes and the seasons are written far in advance. It's very hard for the audience to affect the story at large unless she takes the reaction to something in a previous season and uses it in the next. Taking what people hone in on in one season to use in the next so that the audience can feel satisfied. For example, for Helva Boss, Season 2 was written and recorded 3 years ago, and the episodes tend to be written at least 2 years in advance. Speaking of writing, Season 3 of Helva Boss has the biggest writing team so far. Vivian, Brandon, and Adam from Season 2, as well as adding Sky and Lyle onto that writing team. She says to her it makes the script better and makes sure that the best idea is used by having more ideas flowing. Because you have to lock in at each stage of production, it's very hard to make big changes to an episode, even if it really wanted to. Storyboard and writing are done around the same time and are the first stage in the episode process for Spindlehorse's cartoons, while everything else tends to be staggered. For example, episode 3 is in writing, episode 2 is in storyboard, and episode 1 is in rough animation. Which is why episodes can take up to 3 months to fully animate from start to finish, which is incredibly fast for animation. For example, an average 11-minute episode of Steven Universe takes about 9 months to produce, and Helva Boss is usually around 20 minutes, almost twice the runtime. Season 3 was the first season of Helva Boss to be recorded in person. Viv explains that she takes her favorite takes to build an episode audibly in her head, and it helps her visualize it. If you're an animation nerd like me or want to animate similar to Has-Been Hotel and Helva Boss, listen up! Helva Boss is animated in 24 frames per second and done on twos, meaning one drawing for every 2 frames. While Has-Been Hotel, done in twos also, is done in 23 frames per second. Helva Boss might switch over to 23 frames per second to match Has-Been. That way the shows match, for the sake of crossovers, but we'll address that later. When it comes to animation mistakes, it honestly depends on how big the mistake is, if they'll change it. As making changes during the final pass is expensive. and can set not only that episode back, but the others as well. Spin-Horse currently has around 200 employees, and every few months they get more and more. For the Hellverse in general, Viv has other concepts for the universe she'd love to get into. I have questions on what she would like to get into. Viv, if you would ever like to do an interview with me, despite my channel being small, it would be greatly appreciated. I promise not to ask more than 10 questions on the future of Has-Been Hotel episodes or Hell of a Boss. I mostly just want world building questions and questions about potential future projects. Has-Been Hotel has so many characters that it could theoretically go on forever. However, Viv states she does not want 84 seasons, directly referencing The Simpsons. Y'all remember how Blitz will eat cheese with hot sauce on it, particularly in the Pain games? I don't remember the episode's name. Brandon did that in a video call, and Viv found it hilarious, which started all of that. The horse girl stuff actually comes from Sam, a member of the Spindlehorse team and Viv's friend. And Brandon's hatred for horses. So maybe, if you can, give the horse stuff to Sam, because they're all meant for her. Alistair calling Adam sloppy came from Viv's first interaction in person with Amir, Alistair's voice actor. Viv was tipsy, as she puts it, and it was a bit more cheerful, and Amir apparently called her sloppy. Viv found it hilarious, so she knew that Alistair had to say it. Has-Been Hotel Season 2 is already been recorded, including fun new cast and cameos, though there aren't a ton of new characters, as the cast was pretty full from Season 1. Viv assured we will see Stella's backstory, though she doesn't know how soon. Stella is a villain, but she's a villain for a reason. Though Viv does state she's meant to be one note. If you're worried about a major character not getting their story told, don't. Viv wants to explore every major character in Hell of a Boss. We'll also be seeing more of Drillfist, which is awesome to me. I love peacocks. Hell of a Boss Season 3 is already mapped out, but its writing, at the time of this interview, is only about halfway finished. Viv eventually would love to have all 7 sins in the same room. Remember when I mentioned moving Hell of a Boss to 23 frames per second so it would match Has-Been? It would be for this reason. Fingers crossed. So at least the sins could be in both shows and cross over within the series. Series. Fingers crossed for Spindlehorse to be able to do this. Though, other than Lucifer, the last of the sins will show up in Hell of a Boss soon. Ish. You know how it's joke all Viv's character designs have a neck accessory like a choker or bow tie? She does it because A, it helps with the cleanup animating and sectioning off, and B, she just likes how it looks. Relatable. This might be a look at what we can expect from the Hellverse, but Viv likes happy endings. She thinks life is sad enough, so she does think about the endings. When talking about killing off characters, Viv says she hates killing off characters, though she does like it. She insists killing off characters hurts her as much as it hurts us, and will always be for the betterment of the story. I'm sorry, everybody, I have to address an elephant in the room. Viv openly references Adam as a dead character in this stream podcast. So, unless she has a change of heart for Season 3, should it get greenlit, we have seen the last of him. Good riddance. Though It's harder to kill off characters in Helluva Boss because it's more about their stakes and relationships. Stolas stands can rest easy, for now. Dying would ruin his development. She reiterates that season 2 has been recorded, but we all need to remember she can't say shit due to NDAs, which stands for Non-Disclosure Agreements. When deciding if Helluva Boss would have more silly hijinks or have deeper development, Viv actually deferred to Brandon, who wanted a deeper character development. This is how Stolas went from being the villain to the horny birdman we all love and pity. If Viv does movies for the series, they will be more of the big finale type things, or they will have a bigger story. She does mention she'd love to do a crossover movie between the two Hellverse projects. Those states each could have their own movie as well. Whew. That was a long one. Originally, I was going to add Brandon's interview with the lightweights too, but there really wasn't anything I felt I could use. Despite being advertised as a Helluva Boss interview, it was more focused on Brandon's personal YouTube series, which isn't bad, it's just not personally what I was looking for. So I ended up not including anything he said as there was nothing to say. I'm going to start getting into the large con backlog and podcasts and all that stuff for Helluva Boss for this series. So this will likely become a monthly series like my Dragman of the Month series. At least until I get caught up. This means you might get 2 Hellverse videos per month. 1 variety fact pack, and 1 theory. But it all depends on what I have planned for that month. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Have a hellish day!